beautiful downtown Millheim, in the smack dab center of the Keystone State. This is Lou Bryson with Seen Through a Glass, a podcast that's mostly about food and drink in central Pennsylvania. Welcome to episode 41. Let's talk to the pizza boy. A while back, I asked you a few questions about the podcast, whether you wanted transcripts, and you didn't mostly, and I'm grateful. Whether you wanted merchandise, and you did, and I got the stickers, and we're working on getting them more easily available, and maybe getting some other stuff available. And then I also asked, who would you like me to interview in the central PA food and drink scene? And I was kind of expecting that last question to be a source of ideas for episodes, a kind of, that's someone I hadn't thought of, font of inspiration kind of thing. Instead, what I got from you was an almost unanimous request to interview Al Kaminsky, the owner of Al's of Hampton and Pizza Boy Brewing. Hey, I get it. Al's been in the business quite a while. Pizza Boy is a popular spot in the West Shore. But let's not kid ourselves. You guys want an Al interview because you know he has opinions he's absolutely unafraid of voicing. And it's probably going to get messy. Well, I might not be interested in a topic or an interview, but when I am, I don't flinch. So I went to Enola, and I got the interview. And while I was there, I figured I might as well take a look around at some of the other breweries. I visited Evergreen, Mellow Mink, Hemauer, Sworn, and caught Liquid Noise in Marysville on the way back home up the river. It was fun. I'd only been to one of those places before, and my friend Bill Heltzlauer and Ed Grohl over at the It's Friday Somewhere podcast talk about them all the time. And we're going to get to all that, and I'll also tell you about a new-to-me brewery I went to near Altoona that had a Maibach, and the big PA Cider Fest coming up this weekend, and our new home bar. But first, here's what I'm drinking today. What I'm drinking today, appropriately, is the Pizza Boy Archangel. It's a fruited triple IPA, and that is such a Pizza Boy attack beer. Al told me it was backed by popular demand. Let's see if the populace is right. Archangel is a fruited triple IPA at 13.6% alcohol by volume. The fruit is apricot and peaches. I got to be honest with you, this thing pours ugly. There's a lot of fruit pulp in here, so it's right in there. It's murky with the stuff. The aroma's really good. You can smell the hops. You can smell the fruit. It smells sweet. But at the same time, you can tell there's an edge of hops here. I'm just going to, God help me. There's a lot of fruit pulp in there, but we're going to just take a sip. Ooh, well, I'll tell you, for one thing, it sure doesn't feel like 13.6%. Wow, that maybe feels like 6. That's dangerous stuff. The flavor, you can tell it's beer, which is a plus on a lot of these kind of beers. The fruit is very evident, especially the apricot. More than the peach, actually. And you know what? As much as I'm trying, I'm not actually feeling the pulp. So it must be pretty well crushed. Wow, this is disappearing way too fast, to be honest. This is like fruit punch beer. It's really drinkable. Wow, I got to tell you, if I had to drink this again, I would drink it from the can or drink it from like a stoneware mug, because it is not fun to look at and think, oh, I'm going to be drinking this. There's a constant circulation from the carbonation. It just keeps pulling this fruit pulp up to the top. But again, I mean, I'm trying to taste some of this stuff, to feel it in my mouth, and it's just not there. It's pretty well pulverized. I think some of it's just holding together. This is an ugly beer. There's no way around it. And it is not really appetizing to look at. But I got to tell you, if you close your eyes, you feel none of it, and it tastes pretty good. But wow, at 13.6, that's scary. I'm gonna stick to 1 here. I am not gonna have any more because it's gonna make a really short night if I do. Tastes good. Now, before we get all crazy talking to Pizza Boy Al, it's time for Smack Dab in the Center, sponsored by the Happy Valley Adventure Bureau. You know, there's an old joke and apparently several country songs that say, you can't drink all day if you don't start early. Well, maybe, but a good breakfast is essential if you're going on a tour that includes several drinking stops. We call it laying in a base. There are some exceptional places for breakfast in the Happy Valley area, like the Original Waffle Shop, a State College classic. I went there to try out my maple syrup haul last year. It's not just waffles there, but oh my, that's quite a waffle. Do you need a pick-me-up to get going? You can get delicious Italian pastries at Bonfado's Cafe in Belfont and invigoratingly buzzy coffee specialties to pair with them. Gonna go for a drive in the country? Well, start in beautiful downtown Millheim at the Meandering Mallard, a coffee shop and bakery with fresh-made pastries and breakfast sandwiches. I had a fantastic breakfast at the Naked Egg Cafe in Pine Grove Mill, where everything is just a bit better, from the eggs to the bacon to the coffee. It's worth the drive out there. If you're staying in State College, the choices. Webster's Bookstore Cafe has a great cup of coffee along with wonderfully stuffed bagel sandwiches. Or try Oeuf, Boeuf et Bacon for a delightfully French twist on American breakfast. Delicately delicious. And if you really do want to start drinking early, may I recommend pairing your eggs and bacon with the Corner Room selection of grown-up milkshakes? I like to get their vanilla shake with a dose of bourbon for a decadent way to start a wonderful day. Get your good morning ideas at the Happy Valley Adventure Bureau website, happyvalley.com. Okay, some background on Al and Pizza Boy for those of you who aren't familiar with it. Al's going to tell you about where he started, just down the road a bit from the current place. I went there a few times, got some late-night growlers to keep a family event going once. But it's really about the new place, the big place. There's a lot of outdoor seating. And I'll be honest, I don't get the attraction, though apparently a lot of people like to sit outside. I sit inside, even though it's kind of industrial, because it's close to the action. The brewery's at one end, and it's stuffed into the space. In fact, it's so stuffed that it has overflowed into 3 big tanks outside. The seating area is in the middle, but the big kitchen and retail area takes up most of the other end. A bar with 102 taps takes up a lot of room. But you'll notice something missing. Waitstaff. Al's runs on the German model of counter service. You wait in line, usually not very long, to be sure, and order from the beer tender or the food cashier. You get your beers poured in front of you, or you get a number and your food is delivered to your table. Al's going to explain that to you, but I'll tell you up front. In my experience, it works pretty well. They also do it at the Bull's Head Pub in Lidditz, one of my favorite bars anywhere. You just have to get used to it. Al will explain. That's enough background. Let's get to that interview. No, wait, a couple things. About the actual interview, we did the recording in the pub, and while it wasn't bonkers, there was some business and something that hissed like an espresso machine now and then. So be prepared. I'm getting better at suppressing that, but it's still not perfect. Second, Al and I have known each other for quite a while, and he's a fan of my writing, and I'm a fan of what he's done. You should know that. And finally, I did register Seen Through a Glass with Apple Podcasts and Spotify as explicit, and this is the first time we're actually using that. Al lets it fly, and I'm not one to edit or bleep. There's a bit of salty language coming, as an old friend of mine used to say. All right, that's about it. Let's roll the interview with Al Pizza Boy Kaminsky. Hey, I'm at Al's of Hampton with Al Kaminsky. You are the Al. How you doing, man?
I'm good, real good.
Good. Like I said, you're Al. You're also the Pizza Boy of Pizza Boy Brewing. Give us a brief history of how you got here. I mean, this is not the first place you ran, and you weren't brewing at first. You were just making pizza.
Yeah, no, I've been pizza my whole entire life.
Okay.
Worked for other people for about 11 years before opening my spot back in May of 2002. So this is our...
Which was, about half a mile from here?
Yeah, it's right across the street.
Yeah.
The place was just too small.
Yeah.
Opened there in May 5th of 2002, so it's been about 23 years, which
is
kind of wild.
It is kind of wild.
2008, we started to sell beer. 2010-ish, we started to brew.
Well, and when you say you started to sell beer, I mean, you kind of dove in.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big deal in Hampton Township, you can't even find a liquor license. So it took us a while, but we had to find a license. We had to move it. It was a whole legal issue, I got to donate a lot of money to some really astute lawyers, attorneys, township fees. But we got what we wanted, what we needed at the time to help and reinvent us, to start to sell beer.
Yeah.
We were selling a lot of beer. And then in 2010, 2011, something like that, I think it was 2010, we ordered new brewing equipment. We started to brew, which I had never brewed before. I'd never home brewed a batch of beer. I said
wow. Okay.
My homebrew system was a $350,000 Braucon brew system at the time, which was I wasn't. It sounds like a crazy investment, but it really wasn't. I was all in, and I was going to learn how to do it. So to me, it didn't seem crazy at all. To everyone else, it seemed absolutely fucking bonkers.
Nuts, yeah.
Yeah, but to me, I didn't even think that it was a thing. I was like, it's just something else I'll have to learn how to do. Like, I had to learn how to, change a filter in the air conditioning unit, or a pilot light in a fryer, or, a belt on, like, an old oven that we had. Like, it's just
another
it's
damn
just another
machine.
thing I have to learn,
Okay.
It's one of those things. It's,
So then that got out of hand, and you moved over here. I mean, you've got a bigger brewing system now too.
Yeah,
so you got a bigger everything.
At the time, we were brewing like 130 gallons at a time.
Wow.
Which to me was like more beer than I had ever seen. Like 5 hectoliters of beer. It was insane. We quickly got so busy that we had to get out of that spot. Like, we had gotten in some trouble for being over capacity. Oh. Which is like one of those things you
read. Too many people?
Yeah, like you
fire
read
marshal stuff?
There was some local concerned business owners who were reportedly or continuously reporting me for being over capacity. So, like, the township had to come in and tell me I had to, like, move tables and, all of this nonsense stuff. We got a whole bunch of, like, the same week I remember we had a LCE inspection. We had people from the state stop by to make sure that all of our licenses were up to par. We had an insurance guy stop by about something. It was... You got samples for us? What is it? So this is one of our brewers just stopped by with a sample of Sunny Side Up peanut butter that's going to be coming out soon.
Okay.
There's not enough peanut butter. We got to get more in it. Just put a note on it. We have to double up on the peanut butter. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you guys.
No, I'm good.
I'm really pumped for this Sunny Side Up peanut butter, but we're adding real peanut butter to it, not like chemicals. So it's been a
that's
a learning experience, I guess. Yeah. So, I'm sorry. Where was I at?
No, that's okay.
We were talking about.
I'm not sure. Getting people dropping a dime on you.
Yeah, they were.
I assume that's where it was coming from.
They were a little wild. Yeah, it was like local business owners, but. So we ended up, there was a piece of land for sale over here that we quietly purchased, kind of like so we purchased it, but we never bought it. We left some money that we owed on it so that it wasn't in our name, so people didn't know where we were moving, so that they couldn't start their whole, issue with whatever they had of me,
Yeah.
We were working on our plans for the building for everything at that time quietly, and no one really knew we were doing it. So when we announced that we were moving, everything was already approved when we made it public that we were doing it. So we didn't have all the fight from everybody, from whoever these concerned restaurateurs were that we were so over capacity. The funny thing is, like, I was so upset. I was so pissed off at these people for, quote unquote, ruining my lives, right? Ruining our lives. Because, like, being busy, it's not a crime, right? But to people that aren't busy, it was a crime. So we moved to the new place, and when we got to the new place and we, like, our brewing expanded and our customer base expanded, and we were only like 40 seats at the old place, and we went into like 300 here.
Yeah.
Packed all the time. So that whole me being pissed off at those people turned into me wanting to send them a Christmas card with $20 in it every year.
Thanks
to
for
say
forcing
thank
me
you.
to
Yes,
do
thank
this.
you for forcing me to make millions of dollars. Because you were so upset that we were too busy then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you've got to be pulling people from a larger area now, too, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, before it was more of a nook hole in the wall thing, and now it's more of it's also 23 years in, and like tens of thousands of beer reviews and awesome Yelp reviews. Shout out to Yelp. We love those people.
Wow. Don't hear that from a restaurant.
Nah, they're the worst. I'm totally sarcastic.
I forget who I'm talking to.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what we do. Someone will shit on you somehow.
It's true. It's true. You've had brewers in the past. You're largely doing the brewing now. Is that right?
Yeah, we had a brewer for a pretty long time, and that isn't the case anymore. It's probably been 2 or 3 years now. I don't know exactly. When that all changed, it's funny, like for years we were loading bags of grain into the hopper, right? Like we brew Murren River a couple times a week and it's like 3,000 pounds, 3,300 pounds. We're loading 55-pound bags into the hopper.
Ooh.
And I could never afford like a silo and a weighing system. And as soon as the brewer left and I was brewing again and I was lifting those bags, I instantly had Braucon on the horn. We had silos, a weighing system, and we automated everything so that we weren't lifting so many bags anymore, you know, for us, for the brewery workers. But
yeah,
we automated a bunch of stuff, though, which was to see the point that we're at now. Like, so to bring this into perspective, we started with 5 hectoliters of beer that we were brewing at a time. And now our capacity is 1,600 gallons per batch, and we can brew 4 batches a day. So we can do...
Wow.
And then we install these like 150 barrel tanks working outside, 3 of them.
Uh-huh.
So that's like, you know, 450 barrels of beer just in 3 tanks, and without all the other tanks that we have. So we have a pretty crazy capacity in here, which, not to get to the dark side of it, but currently we're not using it. Like the capacity is not, I mean, it's our industry right now. It's on a bit of a downturn.
Yeah.
For most, for the lucky people, they're just at a lull where they're doing the same, I guess, year-over-year numbers. But I know that it's probably the wrong way to look at it, but I ran my ass off for so many years we couldn't even keep up, and I kind of am enjoying it a little bit. It gave us time to like
take a breath.
Well, refine what we're doing. We only have 3 employees in the brewery now, and pretty much the 3 of us can do everything. So if the 2 of us aren't there and beer needs brewed, any one of us can brew.
Oh, okay.
Because I've automated everything on the canning and kegging side, we only need 2 people. So a few days a week I'm in the kitchen now because our kitchen's our main source of income. Our main, you know, we're doing between 500 and 1,000 people a day on a normal day.
Wow. Okay.
Through the restaurant itself.
Uh-huh.
So instead of stressing everyone out in the kitchen, I just, you know, one day I'm on the line and I'm like the line cook, and then the next, on Fridays, I'm pizzas all day. And then, like this week, the kitchen manager's off, so I'm pretty much in and out all week. Babysitting, because being a kitchen manager is just a glorified babysitting position. For adults, that is.
Yes. I mean, I've got, like I told you before we started this, I have this as a question. How do you do this? How do you fit it all in?
You know, like, I was born for this. You know, we didn't have a lot of money, and we didn't have any money, and I knew that I had to work hard, and I just started working hard from a young age. So I don't expect anymore. Like, I just expect hard work, and I know I'm going to get more hard work out of it. And it doesn't bother me if I have to work 3 months in a row, doubles.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what has to go on. This is 7-day-a-week work. It's not like, well, the brewery's open Monday through Friday. Like, it's just what has to be done.
Yeah, it's what's on the plate.
Yeah, it's just what has to be done. I will say, though, like, my kids are older now. Like, my daughter is in college.
Uh-huh.
My son is also graduating this year. But I don't want them to do this.
Uh-huh.
I want them to benefit from it. I want them to get the knowledge and the experience of being in a place that's bonkers, you know, and having to do 3 different things at once so they can, like, articulate that and be able to do these things. But I don't want them to do this. Like, my thing is, like, they don't deserve it. They weren't born into it. They were born into it, but from the other side. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, no one deserves this. And I'll be completely honest, okay. My worst enemies, no one deserves this. Like, when you have a restaurant, your life is not yours.
Yeah.
Literally 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, it's not yours. Because you could be at a birthday party, you could be anywhere, and you're getting a call like, the faucet's running. Like, well, fucking turn it off. Just turn it off. Like, people, like, sometimes it's just kind of wacky, you know, like what you get out of it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't end, and you have to know that. And I think if you, like, not that it makes it any better, but that's where I'm at with it. Like, this is 23 years I've owned this place, and it's just been 23 years of the same nonsense.
Yeah, every day.
Like, years ago when I really thought that I was not going to have to work all the time, and then I had to, it was a little bit upsetting. And then once I realized, like, it's just, you know, it's got its daggers into my soul, and I'm just stuck here. It's like a ball and chain, right?
Okay.
Like, it's, you know.
Yeah, I guess you just... buckle in.
You just do it. Yeah.
More about the place now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just looking at the screen. You have a lot of tabs.
Yeah, I mean, we have 102.
Okay. How do you how many of them are house beers? Your beers?
We try to do at least half, like 50s.
Wow,
And it's not like
okay.
a number we try to make. Like,
Yeah.
we have 19 different fermenters on site.
Okay.
And we try to keep a different beer going at all times, except for the larger tanks, which we use for Murren River, because
Sure.
we literally can't keep up with that either.
Murren River is your flagship IPA?
Yeah, it's our number one. It's like, West Coast 7.5%, all Citra IPA. Clear one. It's not hazy.
Okay.
There's no oats. There's no wheat. There's no bullshit in it. It's literally like malt, hops, water, yeast.
Yeah.
Literally, that's it.
Okay.
A lot of hops in it.
Yeah.
And a specific brewing style for that beer. So we don't use any kind of like clarifiers or anything in it, but we do get it clear. So it's one of my favorite beers. But we carry beers from all over the world. That's like one of these things. It's hard. You go into a brewery, right, and you see they have 12 taps, and 2 of them might be house beers, right? You see a New Trail, their PA, or Warwick Farms, if you can get it. Everyone's got Trogs Perpetual on.
Sure.
But you won't see like the same amount. And I think that this goes back to the fact that brewery owners aren't confident in their own product enough to put it up against a bunch of other products.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you if you already have a bartender and you already have a cooler and you have 12 taps, why wouldn't you put 24 taps in and put 12 of other people's beers on? Like, why? Literally,
you're already doing all the work for 12.
You're running a business to sell beer. So now your ego is saying that our beer is better. And I'm going to say 90% of the time the beer is not better. Your beer is not better. Like, I'm sitting here saying that our beer is not better.
Yeah.
I may like 1 or 2, but like, there's times when I get off work when I want to have, like, I'll grab a Hill Farmstead, right? Or I'll grab a lager, or, that new crisp lime lager from New Trail also, which it's not super limey, but it like hits the spot perfectly. Like, literally hits my taste buds.
Yeah, I mean, I got to admit, I didn't want to drink it, but
yeah, I didn't either.
It's not bad.
I had one the other day, and I was like, I just got done with work, and I'm like, still had like pizza grease on my forehead. I'm like, this is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's hitting it.
But it's you. The thing that I see in that, though, people see like, oh, well, we're not going to make as much money or whatever on selling someone else's beer. That's total bullshit, because the way that markups are now. And the other thing is, like, not everyone likes your beer.
Yeah.
So someone's wife or someone's husband, right? The wife likes your beer, the husband doesn't, however it goes.
They're going someplace else.
Yeah, they're going to stop someplace else. Why not just get their sale?
Yeah.
Well, literally, why not get their sale and sell the beer and put someone else's beer on tap? Pizza Boy beer on tap in other breweries looks pretty good, by the way. I don't know if anyone out there is. Are you listening? No, but it's a good thing to not let your ego get in the way of having a business, because at the end of the day, you do have a business which is there to make money.
Yeah.
And also, like, you sell someone else's beer that's really good, and sometimes it would like upset business owners, like, whatever. No, it should make you want to make better beer.
Yeah.
If you care about the beer, it's going to make you want to make better beer. And that, at the end of the day, like, isn't the whole thing about making the best beer that we can make? Not the best beer that I think.
Right.
Right? Because perception is that biased devil that,
that's the other thing.
tricks
You have
us.
other beers on, and it gives you comparison.
Yeah.
Constantly chasing
Right.
that. Yeah.
Right.
So why do you make so many beers? I mean, you make a lot of beers.
It's like, that tap list is like my brain exactly. It's just completely scattered, right?
Okay.
Like, what the hell? We have a brown sugar boba beer coming out. It's like an 11% imperial brown ale.
And it's going to have boba in it.
So, not in the cans.
Okay.
But we did get boba pearls if people want it in their draft. But I was with my son, and he ordered this boba tea. He's like, Dad, you got to try this. And it was too sweet for me, right? Mm-hmm. But I was like, I've never drank a boba beer before. Like, I'm going to make a boba beer. That's, we come in. I would really like to get a reaction from the guys that work in the brewery with me, though, when I walk in on Monday morning and go, I'm getting some dark crystals in and some brown sugar, and we're going to caramelize a bunch of it first. We're going to make a boba beer. And they're like, so today is going to be boba beer. Okay. But that's like, I think the best part of what we do is that we do what we want. Mm-hmm. Honestly, because if I'm brewing Murren every single day or Sunny Side Up every single day, who wants to do that? We still want to have fun. We still want to push the limits, and we still want to do things that other people haven't done, or that other people haven't done well.
Okay.
Because ignorantly enough, we still want people to say, well, this is way better than that other one that's out there. Like we need that,
Why
right?
wouldn't you want that?
Yeah, we need that.
Yeah.
So,
Which of these beers do you like making the most? Just a new one?
no, these... I talked a little bit about this the other day, but these hazy IPAs that are coming now have been... I'm going to say that it's been a religious experience for me just because I can't believe I didn't blow my top. Like, it's been the most frustrating thing of my life with all these chemical reactions and biotransformation and all this fermentation at these certain temperatures and dry hopping and like all of these things that we've had to go through. And I've dumped so many batches. And they weren't bad beers. Just wasn't what I wanted.
That's one of the things I really like about you. You've made no bones about it. If you don't like the beer, it's going down the drain.
Yeah. So we did dump a bunch. I mean, a bunch of beers that we got rid of because I wasn't happy with it. Or we would get it and we would test it. And like 3 weeks later, it would just drop bright. And we finally started scratching the surface of how, like these hazy beers. And I don't drink hazy beer. Mm-hmm. I don't like the whole oats, wheat, thick. Like it reminds me of like a really poorly done cream ale, like the best of them do, and that's not good for me. I think that's why it was so hard for me to brew one too, because the way that I perceive these beers, I was trying to make that in the beer, and I think that's what was messing me up at the time. But like, so we're getting better though. We're just scratching the surface. We've got 2 or 3, maybe 4 now that have really worked out well. Mm-hmm. So really good response from not only the customers, but also our tasting panel.
Okay.
Which is about 5 people that don't even know they're part of the tasting panel because they're regulars that come in every day and they're honest with me. Right? Just completely brutally honest with me. And then like people that work here as well that will try it, that don't even like beer, that will try a beer and give me some great piece of feedback about it, which is like crucial for me to be able to in doing the recipes for these beers. Because you, as a brewery, you kind of get caught up in that like how do I brew this the easiest way, right? Or the cheapest way. Like when our other brewer had left and when I came back into it, we were using like hop extract, which is like a liquid version of hops, right?
Right.
For a lot of stuff. I literally fucking threw it all away. I was like, we need to get back to using actual hop pellets and like put actual flavor in this. Like, for people that use the hop extract, I get it. You get more yield out of it. But when you're giving up flavor, right? Or to me, I'm gonna equate it to quality. When you're giving up that quality or that flavor profile to get another 30 gallons of beer out of it, and then you've already lost. Yeah. Honestly, you've already lost. Like just the batch size is smaller. Let's make it the right way and let's move on. Let's get over it. Like, right. We're not,
Again, about the place, and I mean, I know you've been over this, but you don't do table service.
No, we still don't do table service.
People go up, they order. How do you keep that moving? Or is it not a problem?
It's not a problem for us. I'm going to stand by why we did it in the beginning and why we still do it to this day.
And that's because
when you go into restaurants, this is about the beer. We want people to talk about the beer.
Okay.
We would need 5 or 6 or 8 waitresses, right? Waitresses typically second job, third job, part-time. They're not learning the beer menu.
Yeah. They
don't know the stuff. They walk back to a table with 4 pints. You don't ever know if you're getting the right pint. Even the best waitress. And it's nothing against, this is my life. This is my life.
Right.
But to me, that's a huge downfall in restaurants. Sometimes it doesn't bother people at all, but it's something that really bothered me because this place is solely about the beer. Like the money I've spent on a cooler running at a colder temperature and our draft system and everything that I've done, glassware, glass washers, special chems so that they don't taste like soap. Like literally in our place, you walk up to the counter and you talk to a beer tender who pours it right in front of you and hands it to you. Literally hands it right to you.
Yeah.
There's no like, oh, we messed up 5 beers. We don't know which
you've got the numbers
beers.
right on the tabs.
Yeah,
so
we have everything coded. Like, so we have a board with numbers. Then we have each tap has its own number, but it's also coded with a color coded tag with its name, so they know that they get the glassware right for it as well.
Oh, okay.
So you're also not getting like a Pilsner in a lager glass, right, or a Pilsner into the coffee stout glass.
Yeah.
And because again, though, at the end of the day, I'm so hardened to making it be about the beer. As, some people walk in, they can care less.
Yeah.
Now in here, there were people in the beginning that told me that I would fail, that you can't have people waiting in line in a restaurant. And we have a huge fucking line in a restaurant now for, I don't know, we opened here in 2013. It's been 11 years. We've had a huge line of people every day, literally. And I don't people talk to each other in line. They're like, what are you getting?
Yeah.
And they know, like,
I've seen that. I've done it here.
So let's take some of the things that you notice when you're at a restaurant, right? You might get the wrong beer, uneducated beer staff, or either they're bringing you out a beer every 10 minutes. Hey, do you want another one? Hey, do you want another one? And you're shoving them down your throat.
Yeah.
Or you can't get service to save your life.
Them. Yeah.
And that is so frustrating because some days you need to have 5 beers.
Yeah.
And some days you only want to have one and you're halfway through and they're like, you want another one? And they just bring it right out to you. This solves all of those problems because literally you get up. I mean, the problem is your server is the worst server ever because it's you, right? But you get it the way that you want it. And I think there's also something that happens when you make the choice yourself to get a beer that it tastes better. I really believe. It's like when you do the tour. We were at Trogs a couple weeks ago and we did the tour. The beers same beers we're always drinking. They tasted so much better that day.
Yeah. The food. Your pizza. Do you do something different? Is it your style? Is it a style?
It's, I didn't know my style. My history, I worked from when I was 13 until I was like 18 at a old school pizza shop from the 50s that they made pizza shells and they made pizza on pizza shells, right? Mm-hmm. And then I went to college and I worked for a pizza shop, old school brick oven pizza where we had to toss the pizzas by hand, make it on a wooden peel, get it off the peel into the oven. Yeah. Old school. And I did that for 4 or 5 years before opening my place. So when I opened my place, I had a conveyor oven because I'm really about our bread. All of our bread is homemade. So I needed a conveyor oven to make the bread because I didn't like the way the bread cooked in the brick oven. So we had one brick oven, one conveyor oven. And we were, I say so busy, but at the time I was so inexperienced myself being an owner that we were using the conveyor or the brick oven. So like literally if you got a pizza today in the conveyor or in the brick oven, like it would be totally different. But it's just the way, like if the conveyor was full, we just put them in the brick. Like I didn't think it mattered at that time. We were just making pizzas.
Yeah. Hot's hot.
And then, And then once we really started moving, I realized that the conveyor was the way to go because it was way more consistent, way more efficient, but it totally changed the pizza and it totally changed what I thought was my pizza. And when I realized at that time, because we got like a double conveyor, then we got rid of the brick oven, when I realized at that time that I didn't know what the hell my pizza was. And my pizza could only be the pizza that's going to sell. So
that's
people like, local places like give me shit. Like there's a place that's right across the road here, and they put up signs everywhere. We sell real pizza. They're taking digs at because we don't have real pizza. I'm like, how? So and I'm like, let's just take it by the numbers. So if you're the real pizza guy, you're probably selling a lot more pizzas than Al is for selling the fake pizza, right? In my mind, right?
Like you should be.
I mean, real pizza is going to sell a lot more than just some guy selling pizzas. The fact that our pizza isn't the pizza that I thought I was going to be selling or making, our dough is a 72-hour ferment. We normally use it after 48 hours, but we try to shoot for 72 hours. That's like the ultimate. So we have a whole bunch of dough that we roll by hand every single day. And it sits in the cooler like staged up so that we have dough that's ready to go. We're constantly pulling it out. But what took me the most time was our bread we use the same exact dough for. And that's almost impossible in any business to make pizza dough and bread dough with the same dough. It took me about 3 years of tweaking the amount of sugar, the amount of salt, and the amount of yeast, the amount of oil that we add to the dough to get it perfect for both of those.
Something that worked well for both.
Yeah, and after about 3 years, we got something that's like really great in my mind for both, for making our homemade bread and for making pizzas. Now, for all the people out there that are going to bust my balls and say, well, it's not a crusty roll. Yeah, no shit, it's not a crusty roll. It's literally a homemade roll from a pizza shop that's softer and fluffier, right? Kind of strangely enough. But to me, it works really well for a sandwich, like really well. Doesn't travel well. You roll it up, it gets soggy. I mean, that's what it's same with like the pizza kind of gets weird like that too. But all pizza, you get a pizza from anywhere.
It's not going to be the same, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the reheat on pizza is kind of crazy. You learn how to reheat pizza. But sitting here a quarter of a century almost later, I'm not making the pizza that I set out to. But we sell, like Fridays we'll sell 450 or 500 pizzas in a day.
Yeah, if it sucked, it wouldn't sell.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's one of those things that like it's not a Philly. It's not an Angelo's pizza, right? Like you've had pizza from Angelo's. That pizza's like the best, right? There's a lot of places, little places. Oh, we only do 20 pizzas a day. Good for you. I could sell 20 fucking popsicles a day if we tried. Like, oh, we have a pepperoni flavored popsicle. Okay, we'll sell 20 of them a day. That makes no sense to me. Like, why wouldn't you want to open and sell as many pizzas as you can in a day to a full crowd of people? I think people get scared that they can't do it, and they know that they can just do this one little thing, and then they do that little thing. Mm-hmm. And I think the internet maybe pump it up a little bit. You know, they pump it up a little bit too much, I think. And that's, like, to me, that's insulting for someone that, like, we make a lot of pizzas.
Yeah.
And we do, like, why wouldn't you want to test yourself and make as many pizzas as you can? I could say, like, right now, too, we were way busier prior to COVID. We're still busy, but we're not as busy.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the traction inside of here is probably down by 30%.
Wow.
Like, people-wise.
Yeah.
Which we were bonkers before, so it's not horrible, to be honest, but it's still freaking busy. Like, it's still, you know, it's just not like that extra little bit where you literally felt like you were going to break every single service that we worked, right?
Yeah.
But that's where our pizza's at. It's one of those things, like, it was a tough pill for me to swallow years ago when I was like, my pizza's not my favorite pizza. It's not.
Okay.
I mean, it's not, and it's one of those things that I can be honest about. We eat out everywhere. There's a bunch of local spots. Like, if we're getting Sicilian pizza, I know where we're going. If we're going for a plain pie, I know where we're going. Like, it's one of those things, you know, like I stopped thinking that we make the greatest pizza in the world a long time ago to know that, like, we make the pizza that we make for our customers here. It's got a great quality, right? Mm-hmm. It's got quantity to it because we have tons of toppings and we use a lot of cheese on our pizza. And I'm like an extra sauce, extra cheese guy. So our pizzas are all like extra sauce, extra cheese pizzas just because that's me. Again, like the 50 some taps of crazy shit that we have coming out. I have that same excess in our food, you know, like we started doing those new smash burgers that we added to the menu, and it's a triple smash burger though, same price as a regular smash burger, but we had to go with the triple because that's, you know, it's got to have that.
Yeah, it's
like me, it's an extra patty.
There's a lot more breweries in the area than there were. Is that good for business? Is that good for beer? What's your reaction?
I look at it like two ways, right? If I'm looking at it like a consumer, it's great that we have so much competition, that there's so many people. I get to stop at new places and I get to write it off.
Yeah.
It's research and development. I'll stop at every brewery and hang out and have a couple pints.
You were singing my song.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Where it's not, I was at a local place and I got a pint of a Pilsner and it was $8. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Pilsner doesn't cost $8.
Why is that? Why is competition not hitting that?
There's no Philly 10% tax on that. There's no Philly or Philadelphia. And I don't mean to throw Philadelphia under the bus, but there's no Philadelphia rent charge in there. There's none of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think this spiral, this doom loop that I'm going to call it that we're in now, which I'm hoping is just temporary, has been completely induced by us. And I don't care what anyone says. You can say, oh, everybody moved to these RTDs. They moved to White Claw. They want these. It's bullshit. And it's because if you go out somewhere and you're like, oh, I'm going to grab a 4-pack of this whatever beer, it's $28. Or I can get a 6-pack of pounder cans of 10% White Claw for $10.99. People are buying that shit because it's more affordable. They might buy one 4-pack every now and again to get some flavor out of it. But for the most part, and we only have ourselves to blame for this, because as we started getting overpriced for malt, right? For hops, for charges, instead of really looking at what it's costing us and making the pint 25 cents more, we raised the pint $1 and then it got slower. So we raised the pint another $1, right? And now we have these fucking $8 pints that make no sense at all.
Yeah.
I can see that we haven't raised, like, our in-house beer prices have not went up. If anything, in the last 12 months, they've actually went down, just because I think it's a crunch point right now. And I think that everyone really needs to understand that if they really picked apart their prices, they could do better prices. And once everybody starts doing better prices, people will start coming around to it more. They'll start buying 6-packs to go. They'll start buying 3 pints instead of 2 pints, right?
Yeah.
But it's at this thing. I got a message from another brewery the other day. They just got their production online, and he messaged me, what kegs do I want? And I said, send me the list. Let me check it out. Because I normally approve everything, then I send it through our bar manager to make sure. You know what? Here I won't say who it is, but I have the text with the prices in it, and I know that it doesn't seem like a lot. There was a 6% West Coast IPA, $230 for a half keg. A Czech Pilsner, 4.8%, $210 for a half keg. 5.8% lager, $220 for a half keg. 4.5% something, $250 for a half keg. So to put this into perspective, we get Hop Slam once a year. It's by Bell's. I know they're a big Chinese-run brewery now, and they're the devil. And Bell's has been a solid producer, and they're a big part of our portfolio here.
But
of what we sell retail.
Once a year, and it's
Hop Slam's 10.9%.
Yeah.
Once a year, honey, it's $250 our cost for a half keg.
As opposed to $220 for a 5% Pilsner.
So we get 105 pours with loss or with over pours or whatever. Right. So we round it up. Let's just say there's 100 pours in it. We're paying $220 a pour. So we're going to have to sell it for about $8 to make the proper markup. By the time you pay for line cleaning, you pay for everything we got to pay for. You got to go like 4 times what it is to hopefully do it. Before, we were spending about $160 for a half keg, right? And this is like a higher end one. It's affordable. You can sell it.
And when you say before, 4 years
prior to
ago?
COVID, yeah, just prior to COVID.
Okay,
even at the start of COVID,
like 2018,
before
2019.
Yeah, even 2020.
Okay,
but it's gotten to a point, and everybody's been pushing it because they're like, and I think the response, because I messaged this guy back, and I was like, I'm not buying it at those prices. He's like, oh, well, you should be charging X amount or whatever, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. Because if a pint's not affordable, why am I putting it on? If I wanted filler taps, I can buy a lot of shitty filler beer. The whole point of this is to do good beer, but there should be some kind of price in there where it actually works at it, right? Not like on the back end, like we've been distributing our beers since the old place, really, but we charge $120 for a half keg of Murrin River wholesale to our distributor. And depending on the distributor, we might even pay for shipping to get it to them. So I haven't had a price increase in 15 years on our wholesale prices. We haven't cut back on hops. We haven't cut back on malt. We haven't cut back on cleaning, right? We're not sending it out in fucking paper kegs that they're throwing away.
Right.
But we're somehow doing it because we can, right?
Yeah.
And we're keeping the quality exactly where it was. And I think that all our industry needs is for everybody to really look at what's going on around us and to say we have to get back to brewing good beer at a great price and let it be affordable for people. And then once people are like, oh, I can go out and have 2 more beers, now they're going to take the 4-pack home. And then once they take that 4-pack home, it's in their fridge and they're drinking that.
Yeah.
And then maybe that White Claw and that Twisted Tea and that Hoop Tea or whatever this nonsense is, maybe it goes in the trash and like the root beer and it never comes around again. Right? And maybe people are drinking our lager again, right? Which, I mean, if you come in on site here, a case of our lager is $40. A case of our Murrin River is $50. I mean, these are the prices that they've been. We didn't get crazy with them. This is something that I'm adamant about, though, because I think that for our entire industry to start out of this doom loop that we're in, it has to start with someone and it has to start somewhere. And I think that if we don't start there at the money part of it, where it all started years ago,
right? And
because we're literally rebuilding now, how the hell are we ever going to do it? It's never going to happen. We're just going to be stuck in this thing where people are like, "Oh, I'll take the seltzer instead." You know?
Yeah. Why am I doing this?
At one point, it was about flavor and about quality
and choice.
Yeah. Now it's just about having a buzz.
Yeah. You're kind of famous for not caring who you piss off. Is there a line you won't cross? Are there people you don't want to piss off?
If I'm being honest about something, about how I feel about something, about the way that I do something, and I piss someone off, I think they should probably think about where their feelings lie, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm not even going to think twice about, any of that, because, there are some businessmen out there that are going to listen to this and be like, he's an idiot, right?
Probably.
At some point, they're going to be like, oh, maybe we should think about this, because although it is a business, it's about the product first, right? And I don't know.
No, because one of the other questions I had was, the old stupid if you had a magic wand question. But you're not waving a magic wand. You're actually doing it.
Yeah, I'm not sitting in someone's basement on the computer yelling at everyone. We have, 40 plus employees. and I'm an employee here, and I'm probably 6 employees myself.
Sounds that way.
And I'm doing everything through experience. I'm not doing everything through what I think would happen or how I think you should do it. Like, Lou, I noticed that you don't run all radials on your car. I think you should be out there getting these new tires on your car. Like fuck you, Al. Who cares? Right? Honestly, but that, I feel like that people say that. Like, I take the criticism and I do digest it, and it probably doesn't go any farther than my toilet though, because it's just going right back out because none of it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit my experience that I'm having.
Uh-huh.
I'm not like, the other thing is I'm not making things up just to piss people off.
Right.
Like, sometimes people love to hate me, and I don't, I'm a really hateable guy.
I mean, I got to tell you, I've known you for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I hear a lot of people say, Al's doing shit to piss people off. I got to tell you, I can only think of maybe 1, maybe 2 times that you've deliberately tried to piss people off.
Yeah.
But
the last time that was pretty good was we switched our cheesesteaks over from we were using whatever, like a Philly brand cheesesteak or whatever. We started slicing our own ribeye, making our own cheesesteaks. And for this, we took pictures, and we only had we only had 1 ribeye at the time because the order wasn't coming until the next day, and we made 4 cheesesteaks with it, right? And I had to make 2 different cheesesteaks, 2 of them, and then I had to cut them in half. And what we had to do is we had to pre-make them with cheese, without cheese, wrap them, let them sit. We were doing the R&D part of it so I could switch everything over to these to real ribeye where we butcher it every day now. We slice it. And the last steak that we did, I could have tore the first 2 apart. And instead, the third one I made, and it was I don't know, a third the amount of steak that we put in the roll. And the roll looked big because my photography skills are horrible because I've concentrated on making money with pizza and beer my whole life. So I can't take a picture to save my fucking life.
Yeah.
But I got a lot of hate about the cheesesteak and about what the steak that wasn't in there. But when we were taking the picture, it was really funny because the kitchen manager goes, "You can't post that picture." And I go, "Oh no, it's going to get us that much more publicity because it looks like hell, honestly." And wouldn't you know, I think within the first 24 hours, it was 7,000 views and a few hundred comments, all of which were negative.
Right.
There were people jumping in there that haven't shit on me in years that were like, "Oh, they're shitting on Al. Let's get over there." So they're all on there posting and I at this point I think it's kind of like a funny thing.
Yeah.
We just had another one. We added smash burgers to the menu, which smash burger you have to caramelize the meat. There's a Maillard reaction, so the protein caramelizes.
Some people are just making a thin burger. That's not the point.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're doing these smash burgers, and we have to leave it on the grill so long to get that proper reaction to it that it's never going to work. So we're not crisping it enough to get that Maillard reaction. Technically still a smash burger because we're smashing it, right? But what I wanted was a burger. Our regular burger is a 6-ounce sirloin brisket blend that's flame grilled, and you get 2 of those patties on a normal burger. It's massive.
Yeah.
This huge, chewy, smoky, delicious thing. And I wanted a smash burger that literally melted in your mouth. Kind of the opposite of having the crispy edge on it, but that's what I wanted. So we made it in a way that's the way that we do it. And wouldn't you know, some chef torched me online, was like, "There's no Maillard reaction," and I'm like, "Oh God, here we go again." So I had to explain to him that since I was paying the bills here online in front of everyone, that since I wanted to present it the way that I wanted to present it, I literally wanted it to be one of those cheeseburgers that melts in your mouth. And so Thursdays from 3:30 to close, we do an $8 smash burger. It's a triple smash burger with fries and a side of this special sauce that's pretty tasty. It's like if Chick-fil-A sauce and Big Mac sauce had a baby.
And $8.
Yeah, $8.
Yeah.
I figured so maybe at the end of the night, I'll just keep posting on that guy's thread how many of them we sold and how it's horrible that we're selling more of these, right, than we should be, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things if I see something and it's not exactly the way that it's supposed to be and I want to do it the other way, we just, I don't think I mean to piss everyone off. It does make me kind of happy when I do, though. I'm tired at the end of the night, so I sleep either way.
There you go.
It doesn't matter.
Last question, and it's just kind of a toss away. Are there any of your beers that you're making that people you think people don't know enough about that maybe they don't appreciate enough? One that you really like that just doesn't seem to catch on?
No, so I'm older now, so like the Pilsner, I'm so into the Pilsner. But the truth is, like, as people come in here, they get to know the place, even on their first try. Our beer tenders are really good. They really talk to people. They don't try to sell them on anything.
They want to find out what they want.
Yeah, what's your favorite beer? Like, oh, it's Heineken. So start with our Pilsner or our lager. Let's start there if you want to start with the Pilsner. And we also don't have that thing, like people have tried to sell us beer before. They're like, our beer is so much better than their beer. We don't do that. That's not the way that we sell. We said, if it were us, like, this is what I would try. Or the other thing that our beer tenders would tell people is, this is the beer that we've sold the most of today. Maybe you want to try that one because it's selling like wildfire.
Velocity is important.
Yeah, because sometimes I have these beers and I'm like, this is the fucking worst beer that I've ever made. And the guys are like, no, it's good. We got to put it out. There's nothing wrong with it. Your fucking taste buds are off today or whatever bullshit. There are beers on right now that I still detest. And they're like really, really great selling beers.
Okay.
But again, it's got nothing to do with my flavor profile, right? It's got to do with the fact that people like them and people drink it, and it's not, it's, again, one of those, I guess, tough pills to swallow, right? Like, you might have a podcast that you hate doing and people love it, and then you got to keep
doing it.
Yeah, you'll be like, God, I have to have Al on again? People love to hate this guy. Jesus.
All right, man. That's all I got.
That's all I got.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Pizza, beer, happy.
Okay. Good to see you again, man.
Yeah. You too, buddy.
Some good stuff there, and I think it deserves some consideration. Are craft beer prices too high? Drinkers have been saying that for over 10 years. When did a $25 4-pack become normal? I remember when we used to say that beer was a better deal than wine. I know I can get a good bottle of wine for under $15, but a good 6-pack? Al's of Hampton is holding the line there, and people like it. My local Elk Creek Cafe is too, and I know we appreciate it. Pizza. Al puts a lot of work into his pizza, and I like it. But is selling more pizza really a yardstick for good pizza? When the supposed good pizza is right across the street and not selling as fast? You gotta love a guy who's as honest about his pizza as Al is. My pizza's not my favorite pizza. Wow. It's easy to miss it in the speed and wit of his delivery, but Al clearly knows what he's talking about when it comes to this business, and he just as clearly loves it. It's got its daggers in his soul, as he says. Thanks for letting me know this is what you wanted. I hope you liked it. I did go to some other West Shore breweries, as I said. The West Shore of Harrisburg is a diverse place, with chock-a-block suburban subdivisions and strip malls, little towns surrounded by thick belts of trees, strip malls and office parks, and 2 large military warehousing facilities. My first books were published by Stackpole Books in Mechanicsburg, so it's got good memories for me. But I've only ever gone to Pizza Boy and Evergreen for beer, so I wanted to branch out. I did start at Evergreen because, although I've appeared there on What's Brewing PA, the TV show I do with co-host Glenn Macnow, available on YouTube, I've never really talked about it here. I'm going to, because I should, and it's well worth your time. First, it's big, with big garage doors in the back and a long, long bar. Next, the food is really good. I remember that from the What's Brewing episode, because Glenn, bless him, always gets the breweries we visit to put out a spread that we tear into on camera. But you're here for the beer, and while the beer at Evergreen is varied, most folks come here for the hazy IPAs. There are usually at least 4 on, and there were 3 double IPAs on when I visited. There was also a Maibach. But I got the flagship Juice Juicy, a triple dry hopped version of it. It was hazy to the point of opaque and had a huge nose of pine and red grapefruit. It drank just fine, as did the small sample I got of the Maibach. These guys know their way around a brew kettle. I talked to some people at the bar. Everyone was pretty friendly and relaxed. I like stopping at Evergreen. But today was about new things, so I cruised on down the pike 2 blocks to visit Mellow Mink. Mellow Mink is a storefront in a plaza, but it looks pretty good inside. I was alone with the bartender. They'd just opened. We chatted while I checked the tap list. I'd been told that Mellow Mink was known for its fruited sours, so I went big with it. Superfruit number 15. It was a good call. As I painfully told the bartender, possibly oversharing, the Superfruit 15 with its tangerine and tropical fruit notes and sweet tart zing reminded me of the unspiked fruit punch at my Aunt Carol's wedding when I was 7 years old. It was a real Proustian moment, and it seems appropriate that it was a drink for me rather than a cookie. Well, that was enjoyable, if a bit mentally demanding. I emerged into the bright sunlight and set course for another wrenching set of surroundings at Sworn Brewing. Sworn is down an alley across a highway from the rail yard that serves the naval warehousing facility in Mechanicsburg. It was fairly busy, with people in the small outdoor area and metal playing on the PA inside. Now, they have a small brewing system, so they weren't doing samples. I played it somewhat safe and got a half pour of a collaborative beer they'd done with Trogs for the Hoppy Valley Brewers Festival, a double IPA called Storm the Field. It was wild, with a huge nose with a tart edge to it, and a full-flavored beer that was somehow almost savory. It's a strange experience, but a good one. And I don't want you thinking anything negative because of the lack of samples or the metal music. They were great guys, and the customers were relaxed and mellow. I would definitely go back and get some IPA and sit outside with it. Now, Bill and Ed talk quite a bit about the next place, Hemauer Brewing. Brooks Hemauer, they say. What a nice guy. Hey, I know what you're thinking. And yes, the beer's good too. Hemauer is in an oddly placed strip mall in Mechanicsburg behind a McDonald's, but once you walk in, you forget all about that. It's cool. It's relaxed. Everyone's having a good time, and there's a great smell from the pizza oven. I dropped it at the corner of the bar and took a look at the menu. Lagers, IPAs, stout, Hefeweizen, sours. It was all there in abundance. The guys had told me that Brooks knew his way around a lager, so I tested that. I ordered a Helles. Now, I'm fairly picky on Helles because I like it, and I've had some of the world's best. This was not a world's best, but few things are, and it was pretty damned good. I'm not shy about saying so. I enjoyed that half pint. And by the way, thank you so many places for offering halves these days. Well, that was it for me. I was headed back to Millheim until I realized that Google was routing me up the west side of the Susquehanna instead of the usual method of shooting me across a bridge to the high-speed lanes. That immediately tripped the beer mapping trigger in my brain, and I realized this was my chance to check out Liquid Noise in Marysville. Liquid Noise is tucked up against one of the high cliffs on the west shore, a quick dive off the highway. Once again, a strip mall. I don't know, I guess it's an affordability issue. There's plenty of parking anyway. Liquid Noise is a bit cavernous inside, and it was just starting to pick up as I took a seat at the long, long bar. There were plenty of choices on the beer board screens, and I decided to go for another IPA, their longboard. The bartender was quick and also quickly talked me into an order of fried pickles. It was an easy sell. I was getting hungry as the sun went down behind the bluffs. The pickles were great, with a crunchy panko-like coating and a delicious dipping sauce that riffed wildly on ranch dressing. I enjoyed them much more than I usually do. Fried pickles are an iffy thing with me. I was kind of taking a flyer. The IPA? Not so much. I had to hunt for hop aroma. There was a buttery character to it. So I called the bartender back. Was she sure she'd poured me the IPA? Yes. And here's where she saved the day by immediately offering to take it away and get me something else. No charge. So I chose the Ashling Irish Red, and it was just what it should have been. Malty, smooth, and full. It was a good pint, and I quickly forgot the IPA. That's good bartending. So that was my West Shore day, and it was a good one. I look forward to going back and trying some of the great restaurants there, a couple of the old standard bars, and the one or two breweries I missed. I do swing through there pretty often, and I love me some variety. Speaking of variety, I did visit another brew pub lately, but not on the West Shore. I went down to Sugar Run Brewing in Duncansville. It's a small place, casually sitting along a tall tree line in a parking lot corner, across the lot from the Slinky Center and Juniata Brewing's taproom there. Sugar Run was recommended by some new friends, and Kathy and I met them there. Food first. I had a Cubano sandwich that was pretty good, one of the better ones I've had in Central PA. The mustard needed some work, but the rest was great. Then I got beer, and shortly after I started looking at the beer menu, I realized that my friends were talking about the brewer. Matt, his name was, and he came from Victory Brewing. And he didn't brew there, but he was brewing here. Are you guys talking about Matt Kruger? And they were. Jeez, I'd known Matt for years. He was the GM at Victory's Downingtown pub. Hell, somewhere in one of my notebooks, there's a doodle of Frankenstein Matt did while I wasn't looking. This was Matt's beer? I was pretty curious. Well, damn, he must have picked up a lot by osmosis because the Maibach was really good. And then I got the dark mild, and wow, we all wound up drinking that. It was so rich, but only 4.6% ABV. Great beer. Well done, Matt. I hope to see you sometime soon, now that I know you're out here. Oh, what else? I told you we've been working on a basement bar, and it's finally done. We christened it last week. Let me describe it. I'm going to put up pictures at the usual places, but a little explanation helps. I had planned a very proper Edwardian pub, brass lanterns, stained glass, proper paint and stained wood, a gleaming refuge from ordinariness. But then construction revealed we had some gorgeous stone walls that it would have been a shame to cover up, even with beautiful paint and trim. So we shifted completely, and what I wanted now was something like the country pubs we'd seen in Western Ireland on our honeymoon. I found some pictures and even a documentary video to show our contractor, Matt Garman. He found milk-based paint for a very different old-timey finish and salvaged wood out of our demolished 1860s-era kitchen for the bar. He took us to a wood salvage dealer, Antique Building Solutions in Howard, PA, where we picked out wood from Pennsylvania barns and Kentucky horse fences for the window frames and doorways. The ceiling is made from locally milled white pine, which Matt also used to make the doors. The bar top is a 2-inch thick black walnut slab from Little Mule Slabs right here in Millheim. And the decor? It's stuff I've been collecting over the past 40 years. If I ever had a bar, and I finally have a home for it. But looking is only part of it. Let's talk about the booze. I wanted 2 taps in the bar, one for beer, one for sparkling water, for highballs and non-alcoholic drinks. And we had bought a small fridge for that, and the plan was to build it into a kegerator in the mechanicals room and run the lines through the back wall of the bar so the taps came out of the wall. Except when we drilled the side of the fridge to put the lines through, we hit a coolant line, and the fridge was dead. Ugh. So for opening night, we set up everything just like we'd planned. A keg of Elk Creek Kolsch, keg of fizzy water, CO2 tank, and a twin regulator, taps through the back wall of the bar. But the kegs were sitting in tubs of ice instead of the fridge. You do what you gotta. I ran up a cocktail menu for Dave Staub. You remember Dave Staub, longtime Zeno's manager, back in our 4th episode? He had offered to tend bar for the opening, and wow, was that ever great. He handled everything, and I had a chance to enjoy the evening. Thanks, Dave. The cocktail menu? Well, it included a selection of highballs, along with a Madras and a Paloma, 4 cocktails, a rye old-fashioned, a cognac sidecar, a classic Negroni, and a Frisco, a delightfully simple shake of bourbon and Benedictine. That one must have gone over well. We went through 2 bottles of bourbon. We had invited about 30 people, including Sam Kumlenik and his wife Amy. We drank, we laughed, and Gary Geikus even got me to sing with him. It was quite a night, and we've enjoyed the bar twice since then. I'm very glad we put it in. And I can't wait to pick up the actual kegerator I ordered tomorrow and have it ready for continued action. Hey, if you're looking for something to do this weekend, late notice, I realize, but you can still get tickets to the PA Cider Fest this Saturday, June 15th, from noon to 4 at the South Mountain Fairgrounds in Biglerville, PA. Cider seminars, food trucks, live music, craft vendors, and about 100 different ciders to try. Plus, and you can't do this at a beer festival, Cider Check allows you to purchase bottles of cider at various booths and then pick them up as you leave the fest without having to cart them around all afternoon. General admission is only $30. Presented by our friends at Ploughman Farm Cider. I'll be there, and it's going to be featured in our next episode. That's the show. Thanks to Al Kaminsky for a great interview. As always, you can see those episode-related pictures on Instagram at STAG Podcast and on Facebook at Seen Through a Glass. If you're listening to the show on the radio at WSOV, there are over 30 more episodes to enjoy, including a Milheim episode and a Nittany Valley episode. You can find Seen Through a Glass on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or on the Podbean app. If you'd like to toss a bit in my hat to keep the show going, I have a coffee button in my Instagram link tree. That's at Stag Podcast and at the Facebook page. It's an easy way to drop me a few bucks online to help keep this going. And if you've already donated, thank you. Tea-berry is a favorite flavor in Pennsylvania. Richie's Dairy in Martinsburg makes a tea-berry ice cream, and you can get a shot of tea-berry flavored vodka at Eclipse Craft Brewing in Sunbury. Tea-berry is a native shrub that doesn't taste like tea or like a berry. It's more like mint mixed with wintergreen. Try some. The next episode is going to be all about cider. Well, and a little bit about rye whiskey. I did this presentation on rye whiskey with a cider author who was talking about cider at the Ploughman Cider Taproom in Gettysburg to celebrate Earth Day in April, and they recorded it. That's going to be the interview, and the rest of the show will be about my trip to the PA Cider Fest this weekend. I hope to get some short interviews there as well. We'll see how that works out. Apples in 2 weeks. Until then, thanks for listening. This is Lou Bryson on Seen Through a Glass from the smack dab center of the Keystone State.